If you're a high-achieving woman who's exhausted by stress, stuck in constant conflict, and tired of being overlooked in the exact rooms where you know you were born to lead, then this podcast is for you. So here's your host, Pallavi Jain.
Welcome back to Her Boss Brain, the podcast where we decode the science of leadership, resilience, and self mastery so you can lead powerfully by activating your boss brain. I'm your host, Pallavi Jain, former HR leader, speaker, and a curious explorer of how our inner technology shapes every conversation, decision, and culture we build. Today, we are heading to the top floor, the C suite, with someone who's redefining what leadership looks like when success and well being truly coexist. My guest today is Kim Wolf-Price, the Chief Operating Officer at Bond, Schoeneck King, where she advises firm leadership on strategic growth, attorney development, and retention. A champion of well-being and inclusion in the legal profession, Kim chairs the New York State Bar Association's Committee on Attorney Well-being and serves on the Committee on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. She also sits on multiple boards, including the New York Bar Foundation and Central New York Women's Bar Association. And if that wasn't enough, she's also the host of Legally Bond, the firm's podcast, spotlighting conversations at the intersection of law, leadership, and community. In an industry known for intensity, long hours, Kim is proof that leadership anchored in inner balance isn't just possible, it's powerful. Kim and I met at a Wellbeing at Work event and hit it off right away. We both care deeply about people and about redefining what driven looks like in this new era of leadership. Kim, welcome to this space. I am so excited for this conversation.
Thank you so much, Pallavi. It's so nice of you to invite me and to have me take part in this conversation. I'm truly honored. And also thank you for your important work.
Of course, thank you. And we all know, like Kim, most people, when they hear COO of a law firm and instantly imagine precision, numbers, performance, and deadlines, behind every strategy, there's still a human leading humans. So when you think about your role, and sorry, I just literally dived in, but I'm just so curious for this conversation that when you're thinking about your role, not just as an operator, but as a leader of people, what do you see as the most important part of your job right now?
I think one of the most important things is empowering the people on the team. You have to empower people to do their jobs, learn about their roles, see how they fit in. So that's critical. That's how they grow and excel. But also I have to do that with clarity from my role. So I think that's really the most important piece.
Yeah, thank you. That's so key. And so many less leaders actually understand the power of empowerment that you just mentioned. I'm just curious, was there a moment in your journey where you realized that inner leadership, that internal grounding had to become part of your external success?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I've been thinking about this idea of what my turning point might have been. And I have to say, my professional career, it's certainly been a journey, interesting and fulfilling. I would say there were several moments along the way that led me to clarity. Of course, like many individuals, maybe the final moment was burnout. Yeah. Right? That finally brought me to the clarity. In my past role before I joined Bond, I was leading, developing, and truly enjoying the challenge of the role. But honestly, I didn't feel heard or seen by leadership in the way I needed to in order to be successful. I also had little kids. I had parents that had different needs. And then suddenly I was facing a health issue completely out of the blue. And the timing was almost parallel to the Bond offer and the opportunity to join. And along the way, I'd done that work internally, kind of figure out how to ground myself, understand what I wanted. And then I took the leap to Bond, and it's been an amazing 6 years professionally. So I was able to, because of those small moments along the way, working on myself, when that moment of I'm going to burn out hit, I could see a little more clearly, and I was able to make the change I needed to.
That's so beautiful and so relatable, because a lot of us actually go through that. And it is important to find that moment and pivot in these small ways. I love that. Now, leadership used to be about control. And you just gave us an example of that, how when even shifting from one organization to another. And now it's really about coherence and inner alignment. If I may, the way I describe it is your nervous system is your true leadership instrument. If you can't self regulate, you can't emotionally regulate others. Neuroscience shows us that your team's brains literally mirror your emotional state. So when you're grounded, what you did, you give permission for calm. And when you're scattered, everyone feels it. And that's the unseen power of inner mastery. Let's be honest, like every organization, I shouldn't say every, most organizations say they care about people. But when pressure hits, numbers usually win. So, from your vantage point, what happens when performance pressure consistently outruns human capacity? You mentioned burnout just now. So,
What really happens is you lose your top performers, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
lose the people who burned out and people are no longer motivated. And that can spread, right? We don't, like you just mentioned, Pallavi,
yeah.
you regulate others around you. So if you have top performers who are burning out, who are at the end of their capacity, who need some type of relief or break, and if you don't acknowledge it, then others around will see that as well. And look, everyone ebbs and flows, right? Everyone has difficult periods and times in law where you might be on trial or working on a big deal. If you don't have that time or capacity to regroup, that can be damaging in the long run. And then you lose those people, and there isn't not just a human cost, but an economic cost to that as well.
Thank you. Thank you. That's so important to point out because when that happens, when people start operating from depletion, that is the hidden cost, right? That sometimes leaders don't realize, that don't see right away. What you just said, it's the retention piece, it's like performance drops, everything, it's directly related. And so often I talk to leaders to remind them that when chronic stress takes over, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for empathy, decision making, and creativity, which is so badly needed in workplaces right now, it literally
Yes,
goes offline.
absolutely. And morale takes a huge hit because the top performers are often the people who motivate others as well. And then when they are depleted that way, it does spread.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's this is just picture coming into my head. It's like your
Yes,
inner CEO leaves the building and like your survival team takes over and it's reactive, it's defensive, and it's
yes,
short-sighted.
very
And
much.
that's when even high performers, what you said, start spiraling. It's very prevalent. You can see it throughout the organization. I have these conversations very often
Yeah.
with leaders, and some of them understand it, some of them are getting there. But are you having similar conversations as an advocate for well-being at work through the various roles you play, of course, as a COO, but especially with the New York Bar Foundation and the Central New York Women's Bar Association? Legal profession is HR. It's like it cannot get more intense than that.
We have a lot of similarities, I think,
Yeah.
with human resources. Yeah, we have a lot of these conversations. The New York State Bar Association, I was honored to be part of their task force a few years ago, where we really dove in to see how we could make changes in the profession to allow some of the pressure valve to
Yeah.
release, and how
Yeah.
we can do that and approach that in a way that is still right. Our duty is to be someone else's best advocate. So you want to do that in a way that you are not depleted, so you can keep that high level of service. So we have conversations often, and in the bar association, we have co-working days where people can just gather together on Zoom and just work together and have some general banter. If they're at a small law firm and they're missing that human connection piece, we have breathing techniques, yoga, things that some people don't see the value in, but are critical. And I love when we can change someone's mind, right? When we can get someone to say, oh, that was really valuable for me. And now I'm going to encourage other people to do it.
Yes, no, that's beautiful. And it's amazing that some of these organizations and boards are understanding the value of this because I really see like it needs to be top down for it to actually come in like normancy of okay, this is something we really need to provide
Yeah.
to our staff members. And for example, for your specific organization and now as a COO, are there any specific things that are on your radar that you want to implement in the next 3 5 years? Do you have any, what is your vision?
Gosh, that's a great question. I think one of the things that we can't lose sight of is that inclusion is always part of this.
Yeah.
If people don't feel they can bring their full selves, that's one piece of it. they don't feel they're included in the decisions of their job and they're just cogs in a wheel. So all those types of inclusion matter to people. So continuing to work on that piece, I think, remains very critical. And in the next 3 to 5 years, I'd like to see us take a look at our workspaces. There is value in coming together. And I think COVID blurred those lines in different ways for people. And some people are staying home because they have burnout and it's easier to do that. And so finding the right balance in between and looking for the workplace of 5 to 10 years from now, not 5 to 10 minutes. I think that's an important piece as well.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. And I think what you said, going back to your previous statement, also you mentioned about when we were talking about the burnout and the leader themselves, like sometimes small things really matter. And it just reminded me of another something somebody mentioned it to me. It was one of my clients, and she started something I loved. She called them 2-minute reset huddles. And in between meetings, literally just 120 seconds of silence or breathing. And you won't believe it, like within 3 months, the team conflict reduced because they started really coming into the present moment and really realizing what is it that truly matters in this moment. And that's neuroplasticity in action, the brain learning that it's safe to pause, recover, and re-engage. So what you're saying, it just reminded me of this story that small rituals create these big ripples, right?
It's terrific. Now, what a great practice. And silence is okay. We have a tendency to think we have to fill every moment.
Yes.
It's really recharging.
No, that's absolutely true. And what you said, when we were talking about it in law, the stakes are always high. There is either conflict, there is either urgency, there is emotional charge, are kind of part of the job, right? You're doing something that is critical for someone's life and it's urgent. So have you noticed moments where your own calm or your own overwhelm, because you're doing so many things at the same time, when you did that, it shifted the tone of a room? Or even if you want to share any senior leader comes completely transform a tense meeting, because I think it's important for people to realize that we're all humans.
Yes. I think that's absolutely right. I will say that now that I've done some work and I'm older, I recognize this more. Maybe I met heat with heat a little bit when I was younger sometimes, but now I have that ability to help people reframe. And sometimes it's letting them be heard first. They need to be heard. This problem is taking over their day.
Yeah.
And you just need to let them tell you what it is. And then you can just take that deep breath yourself and then start the conversation. And I've been known to say, okay, honestly, we're going to stop and we're going to take a couple deep breaths and then we're going to figure this out. And if they know you have their back, if they know you're going to approach this in a rational, calm way, right? Humans make mistakes happen, but it starts with letting them know, like, you're on their team and you can work on this together. And you take that out of the room. If you go into a room and everyone's elevated, nothing is getting done to the right place. I won't say that elevation is never to be employed, but it's rare. It's very rare. 99.9% of the time, it's to bring everything down and focus on the solution and empower those in the room to be part of the solution, not walk in and say, fine, I've got it, and walk out. If I say that, a team probably would be scared.
No, that is just so beautiful. And I'm sure you know this, but I just want to build this for our listeners because we learn about some of these concepts and I want them to see what really you did in this moment when you paused and you were centered. We call it emotional contagion, but basically your brain waves literally sync with the strongest nervous system in the room, which is what you did for your team. It is so important for leaders. And that's why I was so thrilled for this conversation because we need leaders like you who understand and are grounded themselves because this inner leadership is so critical in today's world where burnout, exhaustion, stress is common. It's, oh, if you're not exhausted, you're not successful. And we got to change that dynamic somehow.
My goodness, Pallavi, that's 110%. So much of my career has been everyone wants to talk about how many meetings they have and who has the most.
Exactly. And I was working on the vacation. That's something that you should be proud about. You shouldn't be. And sometimes, yes, the culture is like that, but we need somebody to start shifting that dynamic. And that's why I emphasize really about understanding your inner technology, because I really feel the circuitry of your thoughts and emotions and triggers, when you learn to work with it, instead of
Yes.
being hijacked by it, you can redirect a moment instead of reacting to it. And your behavior literally have a ripple effect, mirroring across people in the room.
It's so very true. And I will say to individuals, if they ask me about vacation, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
I do in the morning before the kids wake up, often go through my email because I can't myself, my anxiety, come back to hundreds of emails. But I'm just clearing and
Yeah.
I'm sending out, I'm passing on.
Yeah.
But that's because that's what my role is now. And that's how I have to do it because of where I am. Responsibility is different. But I don't expect everyone to do that. You have to do the things that work for you to be successful and to manage your flow, and you're going to really have greater results.
You hit a very important point there. Pick what works for you. And I think as a leader, like I actually did that sometimes, and I felt so I was doing the same thing because then it's out of my mind and I'm not thinking about it. So sometimes at night, like I have small kids, so I'm putting them to
Yes.
bed. And then at night, 11 o'clock, I'll literally, that's my half an hour of cleaning the clutter from my mind. Okay, I've taken care of it. And I would respond to emails. And I started realizing that some of my team members
Oh,
felt
yeah.
like obligated that, oh, she's working until 11, so we have to. So
Delayed
as soon
delivery.
as I, exactly. And as soon as I saw that somebody was responding, I literally took a moment and we pivoted. I had a meeting, and in our team meeting, I explained to them that, hey, this is why I'm doing it. Pick what works
Yes.
for you, but let just people know what is your expectation. I am literally not expecting you to look at my email, to answer my email, or do
Right.
anything of that sort. This is for my sanity. That's how my brain works,
Yes, exactly. You
right?
have to have those honest, clear conversations with people.
Yeah, exactly. Because everybody is different and their routine is different.
That's right.
So I think that's very important. Again, making it, personalizing it for you, and then communicating it clearly what that means for others around you, especially if you're leading a team or others are mirroring your behavior in that way.
Yes, exactly. So important. And then if there's something that I feel like really can wait, and I know someone hasn't quite figured that out for themselves yet, I do use the delay delivery.
Yeah,
I just need to move it on. And I know they haven't quite gotten that boundary yet of you don't need
exactly.
to reply to me right now. But any of those techniques are so important. And I think I said at the beginning, just be clear in your expectations. And it really helps so much.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now, I want to talk about something with you because we know this work is so important, and a lot of leaders, a lot of organizations are embracing it. Even today, now I have worked with so many HR and people leaders, and they reach out to me to bring this deeper leadership work, like lead from within, into their organization for their leaders and managers, because middle managers is another big cohort
So
that is
true. So true.
struggling the most in the organizations, really. They're the most disengaged. That's the latest data that says.
Yeah.
And we're doing a lot of work with those people. So they're struggling and they need real tools. But then what happens is sometimes the C suite sometimes gets stuck on these quick fixes. Okay, let's just do a 1 hour training. Let's do a toolkit. Let's do a wellness app and they can take care of what works for them. Well,
Yes.
it's not just doing 10 minutes of yoga every day or do a wellness app, and that's not going to solve the problem unless you understand how this technology really works and you
That's
understand
true.
the importance of inner leadership. So I just, from your perspective, why is it so hard sometimes for senior executives to invest in the deeper inner work that actually shifts culture? And do you also still find that resistance sometimes? And is it skepticism or just old conditioning that leaders don't need this stuff? Or what
Yeah.
is it?
It's interesting. That's a really interesting question. I think some of it for the leaders is they're stuck in that cycle and they've been doing it for so long, that money, time, pressure cycle, that
Yeah.
they themselves can't break it. And so they can't see it for other people, right? There's always so much to do and more responsibility on
Yes.
you and more to do. But I think we need to work with leaders to help them take that pause. They
Yeah.
need to break that cycle, that reset, because once you get through to them, And you talk about how we're not saying that your team isn't going to work anymore.
Yes.
We're not saying that they're not going to still be driven for the bottom line or the client service or the increased revenue or the new product line, whatever your organization or industry is looking for. We're saying they will do it better.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so
And
it's sometimes it's just making, it's that old phrase, break through the haze. And I think sometimes you have to do that because they are so entrenched in that money time pressure loop that they can't break out.
yeah, yeah. And that is so true. And the irony is that the data is crystal clear. Like
Right?
leaders who
Yes.
cultivate self-awareness, resilience, and mindset mastery outperform others by up to 40% in engagement and retention metrics.
Yep.
And now we both know that revenue matters, but it is important to understand that there is a real cost of burnout, of people being disengaged, morale being low, especially in high achieving teams, and it
Yes.
directly hits the bottom line. And I
Yes.
have seen this shift firsthand. And like you, I'm a big advocate and I'm going to keep giving
Yes.
them data and research and other things. And I remember a CEO once told me, Pallavi, I'm not convinced this inner work or mindset stuff actually moves numbers. But he still took a leap and he brought my leap from within workshop to his
Yes.
middle managers. And 8 weeks later, their productivity jumped by 10% and collaboration across departments transformed. And it's like when you experience it, he went
Yes.
from skeptic to believer. And today
Right.
he's one of the biggest advocates for this work. We still laugh. I'm sure if he's listening to this, he would know who I'm talking about him. But we still laugh about that first conversation. How he saw was like undeniable when leaders recharge from within, understanding their inner technology to leverage it, results do follow.
It really does. It falls to the bottom line in the best way.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure you have stories like this. So have you seen ways that investing in well-being actually strengthens performance metrics? And if you could share an example or a real story with our listeners today, because a lot of executives are listening to this as well, and I want them to really understand why this work is really so critical.
I think one part of it, going back to that inclusion and being seen piece, is you have to pay attention and empower other people to pay attention. We've had a situation with a senior associate who was just remarkable and remains remarkable, right? And pushing herself and pushing herself. And leadership said, whoa, right? They noticed, they saw her not being herself. And they said, I'm coming to take this off your desk, not because you're a failure, but because you're a success, because we want you to stay. So I'm going to take this, we're going to give it to someone else, and you're going to go home. And
Awesome.
and then lived that, right?
Yeah.
Gave her the next good thing that she was interested in being part of. And it's just some of those moments. And it's because I'll admit, the chair of our firm, who I work closely every day, he'll say sometimes if I'm not sure I can make it into the day, I make sure like I'm singing a song in my head as I walk in that's positive, that helps me reframe. And he'll tell associates that, or I'll tell them that, as I walk into the building every day, I take a couple of deep breaths. Not that I'm dreading it. It's not that. I'm excited and I
Right.
want to be like focused. I'm changing from mom to Kim, in
Shifting
that moment.
gears.
Exactly. I'm shifting my gears and I'm getting ready and I can like joyfully say hello to the person at the front desk and make my way up. And all of those pieces, I do think that's a big part of it too, right? You recognize and you take that out, but you live it and you talk about how you live it so that you give people permission to do the same thing.
That is so powerful, and I cannot emphasize on this. I would like to take a time out here and just say this once again that what you live it, what you tell people, because I think a lot of like middle managers, directors, they feel like the executives have it all together and everything is great, and because that's how a lot of us present ourselves, right? So I think there is power in, guys, I just don't have it all together today, or I need a moment, or whatever. And sharing these small nuggets of how it helps you center also gives them a signal. One, it tells them some of the great tips they can use. And second, it gives them permission that they can have moments like that too, and they can have their own rituals that help them.
So important.
So definitely living by it. And I know in law, the pace is relentless, reactive, client driven, nonstop. So also, Kim, if you have a message, what would you say to the executives who should make this shift? who are the ones who are not still on the other side of this, and the ones who can choose to equip their managers and leaders with the tools for inner resilience and real collaboration. What would you say to them?
I think honestly, one of the things I'd say to them is if you make this shift, you're going to enjoy your job more. Yes,
Yeah.
you're going to empower your people and you're going to have better teams and it'll fall positively to the bottom line. But honestly, I enjoy my work more because I've made this shift and I see it in others. And it's very rewarding. So take the opportunity.
Thank you. That is so beautiful again. And it's time to move beyond the same trainings, okay? Folks that
Yes.
often produce little lasting change and invest in tools that truly empower your teams and leaders
Yes.
and you, give you back the joy of leading a team that is feeling enriched, that is feeling motivated. And it's all our energies are so contagious when we start building that kind of a culture. What you have seen, Kim, I have seen that. And that's why I think we both believe in this work so much because we have experienced it.
Exactly.
Now, you lead hundreds of people and you still champion well being at multiple levels. You've shared so many nuggets with us. But if you think about your boss brain, your ability to be on self start, what are the daily choices or rituals that help you stay clear, calm, and connected? If you can share some of them with us.
Yeah. So for me, I have to move a little bit in the day.
Yeah,
If I don't move,
movement.
it cleanses my negativity, I think. So I have to move. I'm not saying it in any way that I am running any miles, but I have to move. I have to make that part of the day. And I have to give myself permission to shut my door. And I know that sometimes people don't want to do that, but every once in a while, I need 10 minutes to just be in my office and shut my door. Breathing is a huge thing for me. I've been practicing meditation for a number of years now, and I know that sometimes that turns people off. They're like, I can't sit still. My brain doesn't shut off. And I say, it's not supposed to. It's okay.
Yeah.
But once you've done it for enough time, you realize you can do it in small doses throughout the day. You don't just have to sit down. It can be walking and thinking about the walk. And so those are some of the things that I have to do to keep myself focused and balanced. And laughter, 150%. If I can have small laughs during the day when I tell my team that all day I thought it was Thursday, but it's Tuesday, and then we can make a joke out of it. But those are all important parts to every day for me.
That is so nice and so relatable. I'm have been meditating for so many years and like I that is something I cannot actually go without now. And again, there's a lot of misconceptions about that too. I tell people sometimes if you cannot meditate, do mindfulness, which is like just being in the present moment.
Yes.
Use your five senses to just notice what's around you, and that will ground you as well. Great, great tips. And if you can leave our women listening today to this episode with one CTA, one call to action, what would that be that they should remember?
I think it is just get started.
Yeah.
I think especially as women, we want it perfect before we launch. We want to make sure we thought everything through. Get started. Have a breathing moment at work or at the start of a meeting, like you mentioned, which was so powerful. Do something like that and something for yourself, and you're going to watch it grow. So just get started.
I love it. I was remembering of Nike, just do it, just start.
Yes.
That's such a great insight, Kim. And I love how it normalizes that self leadership isn't a luxury, it's a discipline. You do small doses, you can
Yep.
stay consistent. And just like we train our bodies, we can train our brains to move from chaos to clarity. Clarity was one of the
Yes.
big thing that Kim mentioned today. And Kim, I love how you said that because it really captures where modern leadership is headed. And it's a perfect reminder for all of us. So thank you again for those beautiful nuggets. And just to bring it all together for our listeners, conversations like this remind me that leadership isn't about holding everything together.
That's
It's
right.
about holding yourself together, especially when everything around you is shifting. So much uncertainty around us right now. And Kim reminded us that C suite doesn't just set strategy, it sets the emotional tone of the entire organization. And when your nervous system leads, everything else follows. So I would like to just bring it all together. And here are three things to take with you from today's conversation. Number one, regulate before you respond. Your calm is your power. Pick what works for you. Number two, Invest in inner leadership for your teams. When your leaders are grounded, managers collaborate and performance flourish. And number three, lead from within. Outer success is only sustainable when it's anchored inside. Now, whether you're leading yourself or others, these principles create ripples that extend beyond your own day to day, transforming team dynamics, performance, and culture, like we just discussed with Kim. And if today's episode reminded you that leadership starts within, share it with a woman you admire. Or join me inside the Rewired Women program, where we don't just talk about well being, we rewire your brain to live it with calm, clarity, and confidence. And I just want to again thank you so much, Kim, for this beautiful nuggets of information and your story that you shared with us today. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. Thanks for keeping this conversation moving forward. And I can't wait till we talk again.
Absolutely. And to everyone listening, until next time, pause, breathe, and lead from within to activate your boss brain. See you next time.
So that's it for today's episode of our Boss Brain podcast. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, iTunes, or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will win a chance in a grand prize drawing to win a $25,000 private VIP day with Pallavi herself. Be sure to head on over to her bossbrainpodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Pallavi's gift and join us next time.